In terms of carbon capture and sequestration, this is a real challenge, and it's something that's not practiced today. If you look at coal-fired power plants, and there are more being produced today, there are more being designed and developed, the CO2 from those power plant smokestacks is emitted into the atmosphere. One of the things that you could do is capture that CO2, but the way that you would do that is very challenging. As I mentioned, there's no economic driver for capturing CO2 today, but if there was, this would be the largest volume application that is pursued by membranes by a factor of at least 10. So you're looking at an enormous scale of CO2 that needs to be captured. You could capture CO2 by taking some type of sponge-like material that would soak up CO2. It would allow you to efficiently separate it so that you could pressurize it and put it underground at some later time. But it really is challenging to find those materials that have much higher flux, much higher throughput than what's currently achievable. Something that we're working on today is improving different types of membrane systems where the flux is much higher than what you could achieve from commercially available polymers, and perhaps you could target those kind of applications if you could improve the throughput and reduce the cost. Now, I think there's a really good example when it comes to capital costs and when it comes to operating costs for separations today. One of them is olefin paraffin separations. So if you take a look at plastics that you buy, so bags or bottles at the store, they have that little recycling symbol on the bottom of them. If it's a 2, a 4, or a 5, those numbers refer to either ethylene-based polymers or propylene-based polymers. They're produced in an enormous quantity today, and so there's a real need to make these types of feedstocks that are chemically pure and can be used for consumer products. Because they're needed in such a high volume, today you use cryogenic distillation, which is one of the most energy-intensive processes for a separation. Not only are you trying to separate molecules that are similar in size, but they're similar in thermodynamic properties too. So what this means is you're building columns, distillation columns, that can be 200 or 300 feet tall. They have very high flow rates. And if you just look at the cost of one of those separation units, you start to look at not only hundreds of millions, but even billions of dollars. So you're looking at a capital cost for installing the separation train to make ethylene or to make propylene that is enormous. In addition to the costs, the capital costs for making those types of distillation systems, the energy required to pull vacuum and to operate these systems at minus 120 degrees Celsius, to operate them cryogenically, is also enormous. The total energy cost for ethylene and propylene production today in terms of distillation, it's 6% of the total energy cost for distillation. So if you can replace those columns, you can save on capital cost. If you can replace those columns, you can save on operating cost. You can reduce the size of those columns, but you need to find the right material. And that material has to be used in some other fashion that doesn't require boiling and reboiling, these thermally driven separation processes. Something perhaps like a membrane, where you could separate out a mixture based on their size and some of their other property sets, where you can take advantage of those for a separation process.